You were like,
well, this subject is such an intense subject, but it's some
trying to fix the physical, thinking it's going to make some change.
Welcome. We are streaming live. We are so appreciative that you guys have chosen to join us. Before we get started with today's segment on the BAGLADY Syndrome, I just want to introduce these beauties that have joined me. We'll start with Aisha Ahmed.
Hello.
Okay, we have Miss Liza Davis.
Hello.
We have myself, Ty. And then we have Miss Nicole Wilson.
Hello.
Alicia Watson.
Hi.
And Miss Erica Somerville.
Hi.
As you guys know, we are speaking about the state of emergency with our women, and so I wanted to get with you guys as educators, you guys as life coaches, just to get your take on it. You know, the BAGLADY Syndrome started back in the 70s. It was considered a state of emergency for women that were high up in business, like presidents, vice presidents, and things like that. And it describes a point of time when they've either lost their job, going through divorce, and it's sort of like a midlife crisis. Since that time, it's evolved. As you know, a lot of us come into the fold, into the things of Christ, and we have a lot of baggage. We have emotional distresses and just things that we've gone through as women. And so I just want to have an unscripted conversation just about that. Those that are watching, the BAGLADY Syndrome today in our 20th century is really depictive of a woman who is carrying around situations that have happened to them when they're younger. Unforgiveness, different bitterness, from being molested to being abused as children, to being single parents, and it's so imperative that we start talking about it and dealing with it. And so that's literally why we're here today. So without further ado, I will pose the first question. How do you think we've got to this point? And before you answer, because I know it's a very harsh, direct question, do you think it's from our upbringing, just the situations that we've had, and not even speaking in Christ, just in general as women? Because I know as a woman, I have come across encounters of women who are in emotional turmoil like I've never seen before. People on the verge of committing suicide, people just going through divorces, and just different things. So I just want us to speak to those areas, and I'm going to ask the question again. How do you think that we've got to this point?
Well, I think first, when you're raised, you're kind of taught to keep what you deal with to yourself. I don't know why we tell people to do that, because it's probably the worst thing that you can do. And I think it's this whole thing of you don't want somebody to know, what's going on behind the scenes. You want it to look like you're okay. You want it to look like, I'm blessed, I'm highly favored, and we hide behind that. And the truth is that really we need to talk to someone, because if we just pretend like those things don't exist, it becomes a more internalized thing, and we react without even knowing that that's why we're doing that, and so I think we just need to get to the place where it's like, hey, if I have something and I need to deal with it, I need to talk to someone, and not just someone, but the right someone who can actually help me through it, and who knows how to get through that. I think sometimes we talk to our friends like, hey girlfriend, your girlfriend has no idea how to help you, no idea how to change your life, no idea how to, how to really give you what you need. So I think the first thing for us is that we've got to talk about stuff. We've got to put it, out there, and just allow it to do what it does.
If I may also add, I think a lot of it has to do with a lot that we take on, and we don't realize it because we're conditioned, especially as women. Well, you're the caretaker. If you work, you're bringing in the money, you take care of the kids, maybe you're taking care of extended family. And then even if you're in a workplace, now you're dealing with those dynamics. And sometimes we're so conditioned to take on these things. It's like almost like a cultural thing. Sometimes we don't realize that when we're overwhelmed and we ignore those signs and we just think, oh, well, I'm just tired, or I just need some rest, or I just need to sit back. But just take a seat for a second. But even to take a second and realize, I'm a little overwhelmed. And then it gets back to your point of, okay, maybe I need to talk to somebody to get help. But we're conditioned to take on these things on our own. And it's almost the thing of, well, if you can't handle it, it's almost something wrong with you.
Yeah,
Correct. And just to add to what the ladies have already said, if you are in some type of emotional distress or just anything where you're dealing with the day-to-day stressors, it's looked at as weak. I mean, just as from an educator standpoint, dealing with my middle school students, they have a certain swag or a certain standard that they want to keep with their peers, and they don't want to appear, like I said, weak, labeled weak, because that's almost, it's like I hate to call it a hood mentality, but to a certain extent it is, because it's like the survival of the fittest. And if you're stronger, you're equipped to handle everything. And women, we bear the weight of the world on our shoulders. We're meant to bear it all. We're super women. When all reality, to be authentic and true about things, things affect us, if not more, because of our emotionality sometimes, more than anyone else. So it's important, like the ladies were saying, to be authentic and be true and be able to be transparent, because there's growth in that. And in a society, this is the other thing I wanted to say, in a society where so much emphasis is placed on the outer, how you look, what you wear, what you drive, where you live, no one takes a minute to say, what about the inner? Is it just as fabulous? Is it just as, glossy, shiny, popping, all these things as the outer? Because we know that that's more important. We are, spirit men first before we have this whole outer part. So
exactly. And you guys touched on a lot of points. I cut somebody off. You all touched on a lot of cool points. I mean, just the whole transparency and doing with the outer shell, but on the inside, if you have trash going on the inside, and I know from personal experience, I literally learned to function in dysfunction. Absolutely. I was absolutely homeless, lived in the Southern Suites in a hotel on Memorial Drive in Decatur, and literally was going to work every single day. And I made excuses why I smelled the way that I smelled and looked the way that I looked. My salary wasn't bad, but the mentality on the inside, literally, I was trucking around all of this baggage, going from job to relationship and just different things. So that transparency is like really key. And it's time for us, even as sisters, to just come together. It doesn't matter whether you're Caucasian, African American, you are a woman. And as a woman, we need to help each other. And that's literally what Free to Live is about. Just being able to share your testimony, being able to be transparent. And so I'm really, really glad and excited that we're having this session. One thing that I wanted to add just about this, just that whole state of mind, and I know that you can attest to this as an author and putting out different, works. Isn't there a system that's used to resolve matters? Like, as a child, you're taught, if you want something done, you have to maybe write it out, and then, you may have to ask for permission. There's a step or something that I feel like we're missing. Can you just sort of chime in or speak on that, like the process of improvement, just something?
Well, there are many things that we can do. You can journal, you can talk to someone, but the reality is it's not going to change until you get honest with the fact that you have a problem. You can journal all day, you can talk to everybody, and you can talk and lie, because you're lying to yourself.
That's exactly what I did.
We have come to this place where we've gotten really, really comfortable with allowing things to be an excuse. And what's happening is it is spiraling from generation to generation, because it's just so much easier to say, well, I am where I am because this happened to me, because I was molested, because my mother died, because my dad wasn't there. It's so much easier to allow that to be an excuse to keep you where you are and the reason for where you are, versus dealing with the real issue. And really just finding yourself, or just taking your power back and knowing who you are in Christ. Until you get to that place, all of the journaling, all of the paying for the therapist, all of that is not, it's just like it's just like taking steps and you're just like going around the mountain. constantly until you get honest. You have to get honest.
What's going to be your story? Is your story going to be the issue that happened, or whatever, what tragedy or mishap happened in your life, in your past, or is it going to be where you are in your present? Is your story going to dictate the rest of your life? And that's what you have to be honest with, as you just mentioned. It's not about, you can have all the journaling, all the counseling, but that's not going to get to a resolve until you deal with, what is this going to be the story? Let's deal with the root issues, and now, what's my story going to be? Am I a single parent? Is that what I want people to see me as? Am I that young lady that was sexually assaulted? Or who am I now? These are the things that happened, but is that me? That's not me. Right. So, you know, that's yeah, you have to, what is your story? Change it.
Correct. And then just to piggyback, we have the capabilities to change our story. You guys have seen that even from me sharing my testimony, from you all sharing your testimonies with me into the world in your own way. Like, we all have the capability. Like, God has given us the capability. He died for us. He gave up everything for us. And I mean, the word literally says that He died so that we could have a life worth living. And I, as a woman, it really breaks my heart whenever I see, you know, other women and they're in that turmoil. Are you? Plead now.
I just wanted to say that I think when it comes to women, we've got to be okay with knowing that there is a way out. I think part of why we get trapped is because we assume that it's always going to be that way, and we don't really believe that we can be free, because perhaps in the past you may have tried to do different things to get free or whatever, and it just seemed like it just kept on, you know, returning. And the truth is that you can be free. Like, you have to believe that. You have to see it in your mind that I don't have to be this. You know, for years I was that child who, oh, I lost my mom and dad. You know, and oh, well, I'm this way because I lost my mom and dad. I buried my mother on my birthday, so yeah, that's the biggest excuse ever. You know, but I had to get to a point where I was like, you know what, I don't want that to be me, and I believe that I can get free. And so when I started to share it, and folks, you know, they started to say, oh wait, I lost my mom, I lost my dad too, you know, and I started to see that, wait a minute, I could take this and help somebody with it. It was a change. And that's how I got free, was realizing that as much as I wanted to believe that all the bad stuff in the world had just happened to me, the reality is that bad stuff happens to everybody. Point blank. And it doesn't mean that you did anything. It doesn't mean that God doesn't love you. It doesn't. At the end of the day, when we make choices, our choices reflect, and they offend somebody else, regardless if that was our plan or not. Whenever you make a choice, it's going to hit somebody else. Point blank. So just because my parents made bad choices, it, you know, came down and it hurt me, doesn't mean that I have to be the sum of that.
Correct. It's changing your story.
It's not who you are.
Exactly. Your story.
It's not who you are.
I want to add to what you just said too, which I think is just powerful that you just let that rip like that. But you know, we women, we have to be part of the solution and not part of the problem. We have to stop saying, oh, it's okay, you know, oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you. You know, get honest, brutally. I mean, in love. Like, you know, sweet lips. Sweet lips. We have many a conversation, you know, it's just raw. But I think that that's so needed right now, because women are so used to the coddling. We're not children. We're not little girls anymore. We are grown women with kids and careers and businesses. It's just time out for it. Like, stop it, all the pity partying. Like, just cut it out. When you're talking to one of your friends and they're like, oh, woe is me. Yeah, you know, I'm going to need you to get over it. Sorry. I'm going to need you to walk in your power, because you're a powerful woman. And I see that in you, and I need you to see it. You know, it's just...
I'm gonna need you to be honest. I'm gonna need you to get honest with yourself. Let's pause and because we all go through things, and we sometimes we do need to have that shoulder where we could cry, cuddle up with, you know, for a minute. And I'm gonna let you do that for a minute. But then after that, it's time. Okay, now let's deal with some truths here, because there's some things that you need to face. I do it all the time. I have to do it with myself, because I can't if I don't stand in my truth.
how can I help someone else? How can I? I have nothing to give if I don't first recognize what's going on. What's going on with you, Aisha? You know, let me stop looking out that way. Let me look right here. Let's right here and deal with what's going on here. Because if I'm offended, if I'm upset and angry, those are all dealing with me, myself.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, why?
Right.
Why is that?
Right.
Let's deal with those truths.
And you know, another thing to add to what you just said, it is important for us to be gentle with ourselves, but let's be clear on what being gentle is. Being gentle with ourselves is not, oh, this happened to me and I just need this minute. That's not being gentle. Being gentle is, this happened to me and I'm strong enough to overcome this.
Exactly.
And even though I may be tiptoeing with my steps, I'm still moving.
Exactly.
I'm still pressing forward. I'm not where I used to be. That's being gentle.
And then we have to, you guys have raised so many valid points. Being honest, the first step to you even, you know, if you're in the bag lady syndrome, like if you're in that syndrome and you're in that emotional turmoil and nothing seems to be going right and things are not, you know, taking off for you in your career, you just lost your job or whatever the situation might be, I think the very first step, and correct me if I'm wrong, is really identifying that there's an issue, that there's something that needs to be corrected. I mean, you guys have raised some really powerful points, and like I said earlier, I learned to function in dysfunction. I learned to lie at work, being in a domestic violence relationship, right underneath the nose of my family members. Oh, how'd you get that bruise? Oh yeah, you know, I skipped up by, just I may have bumped myself, I fell, or I just learned to function in all of the chaos that was going on. I learned to come to work with those bruises, put on makeup, just different things. And it's so imperative with that first step to coming undone with yourself and knowing that you have the ability to change. So those are the two things, the two main things. I think, number one, to identify that there's an issue somewhere. And then the second thing is to just start being honest, I guess, and knowing that we all have power as women. Man.
Can I just add to that? I wanted to say, when it comes to mess, when it comes to I have all this weight, we have to take accountability for our choices. Because what we have a habit of doing is, I did this because this and this happened. No, the reality is you chose that. Now, you may not have had wisdom at the time. You may not have known what was right to do, but you chose that. And so at that moment, you have to take accountability for what you did. I am in this situation. I have these children. I'm in this debt. I'm at this place because I have chose to be at this place. And then from that point, then you can seek out help, because now you realize it's nobody else's fault. Yes, you may have had to deal with some stuff, or some things may have took place in your life that you could not control. But when you know the word of God, God gives you a choice regardless, point blank.
Always
good stuff, bad stuff, he gives you a choice. And the first step to change is taking accountability. So instead of saying I have all these bags, I don't know why I'm carrying this, I don't know why I'm sad, you know why you sad, you know why you depressed, you never healed from this, you never healed from that, you were never able to really get free from this over here. But at the end of the day, you are where you are because you chose to be where you are. And when you take that, and you allow God and you allow help to come in, then you can get free, because you've taken the part of, okay, yeah, I'm here because of this. Now, what can I do to be free from this place? What help do I need to evolve from this place now?
Exactly.
Don't recognize.
That's what I was so let's do this. Let's do this, because that branches into another point. We'll pause right there, recollect ourselves. Ladies, we definitely appreciate you guys tuning in for this first segment. Powerful. Just absolutely powerful. If you're just tuning in, we are talking about the bag lady syndrome. Bag lady syndrome with all of the emotional baggage. We've talked about some different testimonies. We've talked about some ways. The bigger thing is about God being able to heal you in those areas, but you've got to relinquish the control and take accountability. You can follow us if you're interested in learning more about it. We'll be having several sessions in the coming weeks. We're at www.freetolivetestimonymonologues.com. You can also follow us on facebook.com/testimonymonologues. We're also on YouTube. We are Free to Live TV. And that's all we have for you guys today. We certainly appreciate our guests, and we hope that you would tune in again. See you soon.